Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another episode of Myth Busting Mondays. And for today's episode, for the final myth, this is going to end up being, can you have a bot or an AI player sacrifice themselves on the sacrifice finale? Now I know that sounds impossible within the means of the game, but I do have an idea of how I think I could get this to work, so stay tuned for the very end when we test that myth. But yeah, guys, if you end up enjoying today's video, please make sure you drop a like and comment down below if you have a myth of your own that you would like to have in a future episode of Myth Busting Mondays. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Myth Busting Mondays. Myth: if a tank hits a car while a survivor is on top of the car, will the survivor travel with the car? Okay guys, so to start off the episode for myth number 1, this is submitted in by John Jr. Now we're going to be having it where I'm standing on top of a car while Glabersko as a tank ends up hitting me with his fist, and as you guys can end up seeing, the car ends up flying, but I just stand in place and instantly get incapacitated. So that means that myth number 1 is going to be busted here today. Myth: if a special infected pins you, can you use frag round splash damage to free yourself? Okay guys, so myth number 2 is going to be submitted in by a true winner 1. Now what we're going to have happen here, guys, we're going to be using a smoker specifically, because for this myth to work we have to use him, because we use a hunter or a jockey or a charger, those special infected's pinning animations are instantaneous and you can no longer use your gun once you were attacked. And to avoid hitting the smoker directly, we are going to be shooting at the floor, so that way we make sure that we're not giving a direct impact shot, and instead we're only using the splash damage to possibly free ourselves. In True Winner 1, we have good news for you. When you end up shooting the floor nearby the smoker, if you do it quick enough, you can end up breaking the tongue animation and technically free yourselves by using the frag round splash damage. So myth number 2 is going to be confirmed. You can indeed use frag round splash damage to free yourself from a smoker, specifically if they're grabbing you with their tongue and you shoot nearby their feet quick enough. Myth: do snipers and or assault rifles have better bullet penetration than shotguns? Okay guys, so myth number 3 is going to be submitted in by Dan. Now what we're going to have happen for this testing is we're going to end up be spawning in a charger behind a piece of a wall. Now we're going to be taking all the different shotguns, sniper rifles, and assault rifles in the game and shoot the charger through said wall. Now what we're going to have happen here is that we're going to be trying to put the charger in the exact same place and also try to shoot him in the exact same place ideally. Now when we end up doing this, we're going to be shooting through the exact same wall texture, so that way there is no possibility of the numbers being skewed unless there's just a human error thing, which is just out of our control. The chargers will always start off at full HP, and we are also not using frag rounds or incendiary rounds on the guns that we're using. We're just using their base caliber bullets. Now to summarize this footage down, because this took us over 45 minutes to end up getting even a result that we were comfortable with, because we wanted to be as sure as we could, we are going to leave this myth pretty much at plausible. The reason why is because some of the guns were giving us inadequate results. To label them is either confirmed or as busted, because some guns have very similar, if not identical, stats. Some guns we were having inconsistent results, which were not matching up with said stats. And finally, like I said, there also is just the possibility of human error, and Dan may or may have not gotten a headshot at some point, which could have saved him a bullet because he cannot see through that wall. Myth: can the witch one-shot Jimmy Gibbs Jr. and or the fallen survivor? Okay guys, so for myth number 4, this is going to be submitted in by Zaku, and to start out the myth, we're going to be starting with Jimmy Gibbs Jr. Now we're going to be spawning in a crap ton of Jimmys here on the atrium, and we've also got a witch nearby on standby, so that way we can end up shooting her once I spawn in a horde of Jimmys, and we're going to have it where I run over to the Jimmys, and so that way when the witch tries to swing at me, she may indirectly or accidentally hit Jimmy. So I'm going to be shooting the witch right now, and as you guys can see, there's a crap ton of Jimmys, plenty of them for the witch to hit. And I'm getting hit by the witch slash Jimmy right now because my screen's absolutely covered in mud. In fact, I'll save you guys the grief and show you better footage by going into third person. But yeah, you can see that I'm surrounded by, like, I would say about like 5 Jimmys. And the witch is indeed hitting me because you can see all the blood. But Jimmy is also equally getting hit just as much as me. And we were sitting here for about, I would say, like 2 minutes. And Jimmy was not dying. In fact, any of the Jimmys were not dying. And it seems like that they really weren't taking any damage of significance because they just kept coming at me. And now this is going to be the Fallen Survivor footage because I forgot to end up doing this while playing with the guys yesterday, so this is me the next day trying to get it by myself. So I am in between the Witch and the Fallen Survivor right next to the elevator, and the Witch is once again hitting these Fallen Survivor / me. But unlike Jimmy Gibbs Jr., the Fallen Survivor eventually here, after getting hit several times by the Witch's claws, he does indeed die. Which is interesting how that Jimmy doesn't die, but the Fallen Survivor does. But the one thing that they both have in common is that neither of them were able to be one-shot by the Witch, which means that myth number 4 is going to be busted here. But I really am wondering still why that the Witch was not able to kill Jimmy. Maybe perhaps Jimmy's also immune to special infected. Who knows? Alrighty guys, and now we move on to the final myth, and once again it is going to be, can you have a AI or bot player sacrifice themselves for you to beat the sacrifice finale? I did say I had a method to my madness in order to end up testing this myth, so let's go over to that strategy right now and see if this is possible. Myth: can you have a bot player sacrifice themselves in the sacrifice finale? Alrighty guys, so the final myth is going to be submitted in by Vader, and do not worry, I'm not going to just spawn in an AI and just have them run around and hope that they end up hitting the generator. I do have an idea. In the mod menu that me and the other Mythbusters use for this series, there is an option to switch between characters. The idea is that I'm going to have it where I freeze Bill in place right at the generator, and then I am going to swap over to him when the finale is finishing, and then I'm going to swap back to control Zoe, so that way by the time that the generator cutscene starts taking place, I will be off of Bill, and the game will think that it's an AI instead of me. Okay, so here is attempt number 1. The director is off, so we have plenty of time to do this, and I'm going to end up trying to time it, so that way I end up hitting the right buttons in the right order, so that way I swap immediately off of Bill and back to Zoe. I'll have to go idle and then click Zoe, so there's going to be an extra frame of work that I have to do, but hopefully that will end up being negligible in terms of the final results. So here it goes. I'm going to start the generator right now, and I try to swap over, and you do see Bill falling over, but this would be a given because of the fact that he was down there as this cutscene was taking place, but it's really the credits that we have to look at to see if I survived or died. And it looks like, according to the credits, it still counted me as Bill, and therefore I died. And just to be on the safe side, we also had a couple of other attempts where Dan tried to do this as well, and as you guys can end up seeing, Dan was once again playing as Bill. He even had slow-mo on to see if he could end up getting better odds with his timing, because Dan's usually pretty good at swapping between keybinds really quickly, but now we need to take a look at, once again, the credits. Did it count it as Bill, or did it count it as Dan? And according to the credits, which are going to pop up any second now, the one that ended up dying was... it was Dan. So it looks like the final myth is busted. Either the cutscene is killing you way too quickly and you can't swap over to another character in time, or whoever was controlling the character that sacrificed themselves last, that person will therefore die in the credits. But yeah guys, that is going to be it here for today's episode of Myth Busting Mondays, and I do truly hope you guys end up enjoying, and if you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. And I hope you guys end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most unique YouTubers you're ever going to see. Thanks for watching guys, all of you, and peace out.
Hey meme lords, Jesus here, and you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too, and give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!
Should still be able to remove it.
You left the game. And the game's dead.
Console, what? I checked my console. This is my fucking server. I own you.
your PC's taking its power back.
You can't kick me. I own you.
It's revolting.